a Christian, and they were asking, how do I avoid the trials and tribulations of this world? How does life get easier? And that really strikes on the core of Rhema's teachings, not directly, but pretty closely. And so I wanted to take some time to answer that question, and in doing so, talk about the core message, the core lesson of Rhema, the essence of Rhema. Now, of course, all Christianity, and we are followers of Jesus, we are followers of Christ. We are not churchianity, we are not typical Christians, but we are followers of Christ. And so all of Christianity loves Jesus and follows him. But when I say the core or the essence of our teachings, I'm talking about something a little different. So simply speaking, it is to avoid harming others and to help them align with God as much as possible. That's why we don't just get you saved and activated in the spiritual gifts and then send you out to start a revival or to even join a revival. That's a recipe for disaster, because your gifts will draw attention, but then your soul will cause damage. The result being that you will hurt others. Our teaching is to avoid harming others. So we cleanse your soul before we send you out by abandoning negative actions, such as hurting others, and destructive motivations, such as anger or clutching and carnal thinking. We stop harming ourselves and others, and we can go out and spread revival without spreading pain with it. So how do we do that? When we know God, we know ourselves. When we are aligned with God, we become righteous. When we become righteous, we develop beneficial attitudes such as love, compassion, and joy. We act out the wills and wishes of the Father, and in doing so, we spread light. We can speak of the essence of Rhema's teachings as they are explained via the sanctification trail. Now, the sanctification trail is the trail we take as Rhemites in overcoming the tribulation and pain of the world, of the demonic, of our carnal, fleshly man. So the sanctification, just one more time, the sanctification trail is the trail we take in overcoming the tribulations and pains of the world, our fleshly person, and the demonic. The demonic creates deception about reality in our soul. Think about the Garden of Eden, when Satan created deception about the reality of God's nature. The fallen world and our carnal person create misconceptions about reality. And think about poor self-talk, bad self-talk. In this world, we will have tribulation. There is tribulation. And there is a cause to tribulation. But the good news is that there is liberation from tribulation, and additionally, there is liberation from the roots of tribulation. This is all found on the sanctification trail. The sanctification trail is the way to liberation and Zoe living. When we speak of tribulation, we mean unsatisfactory experiences. Even the emotion of happiness that we sometimes feel when we feel it, we know it will not last forever. We may be happy at the time, but eventually, inevitably, that emotion will fade. And that fact alone is unsatisfactory. On the trail, we learn that the causes of our tribulation do not lie in the external environment. They do not lie in the external environment that we live in. It is not the external stimuli and the outside triggers that we encounter that cause tribulation. It is also not those people inhabiting our external environment with us. The causes of our tribulation lie in our own soul. They are from within us. This is known as the virtuous truth in Rhema. The disturbing attitudes and negative emotions, such as clutching and anger and hatred, are the real sources of tribulation and our unhappiness. Since these are all based on demonic deceptions or our own misconceptions, they can be removed from the soul mind. Now, the soul mind is just a Rhema term to describe one half of our soul, the mind. The soul is comprised of the heart and the mind. So you can refer to just your mind, or you can refer to just your heart. When someone says soul mind in Rhema, they're just referring to your mind. And when they say soul heart, it's the heart, of course. It's easier to say heart and mind, but sometimes it's beneficial to state that these are portions of our triune being. They reside in our soul. They're part of our soul. They're not just there, but they are a key part of us. The soul is perhaps the biggest obstacle we face in our trail towards a life of empowered living here on earth. So stressing that the heart and mind are part of the soul is never really a waste of time. When we remove demonic deceptions and misconceptions on reality, we can then abide in a state of Zoe living, as I indicated to you earlier. I define Zoe living, if you've never heard of that, I define Zoe living many ways and many times in books and videos and more. But for today's talk, let's just say this about Zoe living. It is the absence of all tribulation, the complete absence of all tribulation and its causes. The complete absence of all unsatisfactory experiences and their causes. A process exists in God's reality that can be used to increase, to realize, can be used for us to realize God's reality. So a process exists in reality that can be used to bring us to that reality. It can be used to increase our good qualities. A trail is there to unleash our giftings and solidify our identity as sons and daughters of God. And Rhema calls this trail the process to Zoe living, the sanctification trail, and we have the ability to actualize it. The trail is comprised of 4 paths. 3 of the 4 are called the higher paths, and the 4th, the other, is just the path less taken, and it's optional for those who find it useful and applicable. It's not for everyone. Let's focus on just the higher paths for this talk. They are the path of life, the path of peace, and the path of righteousness. We must become a good human being who functions well in society and lives harmoniously with others. to bring revival. The path of life enables us to do this because our actions and speech are now calmer. So we can proceed to tame the soul by developing ourselves and a relationship with God on the path of peace. This leads us to cut the root of tribulation, the deceptions and lies that we have believed about reality. As we do this, we become ready to affect the world around us on the path of righteousness. The three higher paths begin with something we call the 8 anchors. You might have heard of those before. The 8 anchors, while they may seem rigid and religious at first, are necessary because they are a crutch. The anchors are a crutch that help us go on our way to a different lifestyle. They include, I'll just list them, they include the following: kingdom speech, true, kind, appropriate speech, glorifying God; kingdom activity, actions which do not harm others; kingdom livelihood, obtaining our sustenance, like our food, our clothing, and etc., in an honest, non-harmful way that builds up the kingdom; kingdom effort, the effort to counteract the disturbing attitudes and demonic deceptions, negative emotions, by partnering with Jesus, by meditating on the Word, by developing the mind of Christ; kingdom mindfulness, counteracting laziness, for lack of a better word, in your meditation, in your yoga postures, in your worship, in your discipline. 6, kingdom thinking. And these all kind of may seem confusing, but as you live them, they become clear. Kingdom thinking is developing your mind away from a carnal mind to the mind of Christ by focusing on that which is virtuous. 7 is kingdom view, kingdom perspective. That's the wisdom of realizing fullness. And if you don't know what fullness is, we'll talk about that in future videos. And finally, the last anchor, kingdom thought. The mind that can explain the sanctification trail, the process, can explain the 4 paths clearly to others, that is motivated by the wish to take them to the world and to use them to set the world free from tribulation, to spread revival across the world. So the essence of the Rhema trail, or the process as it is also known, is additionally contained in the 3 principal aspects of the trail, and that is the determination to be free. Everyone must have a determination to be free, to spread revival, and the wisdom in realizing reality as God sees it and then living in that reality. Initially, we must have the determination to be free from confusion on our problems and their causes, and to really understand our problems and their causes. Then seeing that other people will also have problems and tribulation, to bring love and compassion and develop a godly intention to become either a Rhema master or maybe even a Rhema monk or nun, and help others most effectively reach Zoe Living. Once we reach Zoe Living, we want to spread revival by bringing others into Zoe Living. So to do this, we must develop the wisdom that understands the true nature of ourselves and reality, and to answer the question that causes tribulation to go and fade and fall away. So we want to see ourselves as God sees us, to see the world around us as God does. That eliminates all false projections, perceptions, deceptions, misconceptions. It's like a rap. I can just go on all day. It is the essence of our teachings. So that's why when someone says, how do I avoid tribulation? I say, That's what we're all about. We're about the soul. Now, some critics might say, oh, look, he's saying that Rhema doesn't need Jesus. They're just going to fix you. No, not at all. But we're about the soul. God is good. He saves your spirit pretty quickly. But the soul is what causes the most tribulation here on earth. And that's what we address. And that's how we cause an end to tribulation, to answer the question. And that's why the essence of our teaching is to avoid harming yourself and harming others. As you learn how to do that with Jesus, through Rhema, on the trail, with the 4 paths, you spread revival. You spread the kingdom. Using the kingdom thinking, kingdom, the 8 anchors, all of which, by the way, can be called right thinking, all that. It can be called righteous thinking, or it can be called kingdom thinking. Using those in the beginning as a crutch, and then as you get stronger, letting those crutches go and running and flying even. Why not? So that's the answer I have for your question. I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you